The Trump administration can end the temporary protected status program for over 1 million people, now clearing the way for the Department of Homeland Security to carry out its immigration crackdown. MS Now's Alex Tabbitt has the very latest from Springfield, Ohio. It is home, of course, to a large Haitian community. So, Alex, what are you hearing from those directly affected by this ruling? What's in store for them?
Well, Alex, the over 10,000 Haitians living here in Springfield, Ohio, are facing an impossible decision between returning to Haiti, where the political and economic crises have only gotten worse in recent years, a country that is essentially run by gangs. And the Haitians here tell me that returning to Haiti, they will be going back to that country with a target on their back, that these gang members seek out Haitians coming from the United States of America under the assumption that they have money that they can take from these people, or they can stay here in the United States without any legal status anymore, living a life on the margins, living a life in the shadows, afraid to go out.
Dramatic Danny here. It's just so awful. You haven't got to the law part yet. Yeah, it sucks for these people. I understand. But you're making a case that it's awful for them. So you guys shouldn't be so heartless, you MAGA people. No, they got to go. They weren't supposed to be here. They got to go.
To buy groceries, to take their children to school. That is the difficult decision the Haitians here in Springfield are facing. I talked to Rose Joseph. She's a Haitian leader here. She also has TPS about this difficult decision. I want you to hear what she had to say.
Some employers already talked to their employees, and we received call this morning from people saying that unfortunately, starting on July 1st, they won't be able to go to work anymore. It is like a catch-22 for us. Yeah, it is hard. And I think from yesterday to today, I think the community is just trying to process the news.
So let me ask you a question, Rose. How long have you been here? How long have some of the people you represent been here? You didn't think at any time that maybe you should try to go through the process and legalize yourselves? You just thought that, hey, we got this TPS thing. There was a hurricane or earthquake 15 years ago. We're all good. Robin asked me, she goes, are you being heartless? I'm not being heartless. I'm just saying people had the opportunity. The Democrats lulled these people into a feeling of false security. They let them feel nothing's ever going to happen. Blame them. Blame them for listening to these people.
And I think we are in a question period because people are asking what they're going to do.
So of the 350,000 Haitians in the United States with TPS, a little over 10,000, close to 15,000 live here in Springfield. The population of Springfield is about 58,000. So with this decision from this...
Okay, so where is that? So what you're saying is that 58,000 people live in this city called Springfield. And they brought in 10 or 12,000, basically 20% of the population. They infused 20% more people. So it's easy to turn elections if you're bringing in 20% more. This wasn't by accident. This was by design. It was a plan. They knew exactly where to go, what to do, because you know what came next, or what was going to come next. They were going to vote, and they were going to vote for the candidate that these people wanted to put in place. And they owned 20% of the vote. 20% of the vote in any town is going to probably flip it. Even if you're an incumbent and you're 13 points up, they're going to put 20% more people against you. Just going to drop it right. Just here, we're going to drop all these people in some place called Springfield, Ohio.
Court, 20% of this community in Ohio overnight has lost their status.
Okay, look at it this way. Let's look at it this way, dramatic Dan. 20% of the people who lived in Ohio, in Springfield, Ohio, lost their relevance. Their vote was diluted. Nobody's looking at that. Hey, listen, what's our population here? Oh, we have about, 40,000 people here. All right. What's our makeup? Because now when we dumped 20% of the people here, now all of a sudden we control it. Whoever that nefarious people were going to be, they would now control it. And don't tell me, oh, they're not going to vote. There's no way they can get driver's license and everything else. Right.
Is going to have huge ramifications for the community as a whole.
A lot of my colleagues in D.C. like to talk about American exceptionalism, but then they're ripping away every day the few things that make our country different. TPS is part of that. It is part of what sets our nation apart, that we view the world and we say, if you have instability, if you aren't safe, you can come here.
Trump's loyalists.
Yeah, but you're supposed to just be here for a little while. Yeah, I know these people don't do math well, but they obviously don't understand the word temporary. Yes, we do things differently. We understand if there's a war or famine or something where you live, we'd love to help you out temporarily. We're not bringing you in here permanently. We're just trying to wait until you can get back on your feet and get to where you need to get to. Sort of like a Motel 6 on 95. Hey, you're not going to live here. You're just staying overnight till you wake up, take a shower, get something to eat, and get back on the road. I don't really care where you're going. You just can't stay here.
The Supreme Court have joined forces with him to deny immigrants internationally recognized human rights and advance an authoritarian white supremacist agenda here at home. And friends, it is shameful what the Supreme Court did today. The Supreme Court's decision puts more than 350,000 TPS holders at risk of deportation. Their TPS will be terminated not because of the conditions that made immigrants seek refuge in our country have changed in any way. It's because they do not fit Trump and Miller's idea of who deserves to be safe, who has a right to dignity, and who gets to be an American. You and I know that is unacceptable.
It is very...
See, everything about the Supreme Court 2 days ago was horrible. Now you got a ruling, and you're still not happy. And then, of course, there's this woman who is politically without a home. They redistrict her, and now even the black people don't want her to run.
Clear that this despicable, revolting Supreme Court decision is the direct manifestation of what happens when you elect a naked racist as president of the United States. I'm going to say it directly because all the evidence...
Naked racist. Wow. All they want to do is insult. I'm black, and I want them to leave. What's that make me? Oh, that's right. You're going to call me some, House N or Uncle T. No, I understand the word temporary. They should have understood the word temporary. You should have told them.
Is right there. Which country did this president call out at the beginning of his election as a shithole country? That was Haiti. Which country's nationals in Springfield, Ohio, did he disgustingly refer to as individuals who target people's pets and eat?
Well, is it true? Did some of those pets meet their demise? Were there videos of some of these pets and ducks being taken out of the ponds? I don't know. I saw some pictures, saw some videos. You tell me before you just completely discount it. Trust me, we're down here in South Florida. There's some neighborhoods where they do some serious voodoo stuff. I swear. Voodoo lives in some of these neighborhoods. They even paint their houses certain colors to make sure that the bad spirits, the bad juju doesn't get into the home. Now, like Robin told me, she goes, you've known some very nice Haitians. You've known some hardworking Haitians. Yes, I have. And I've hired some, and I've worked with some. I've partnered with some. And this isn't your, I've got some black friends type of thing. We're talking about the people who came from the Biden administration, and even ones who were from the old TPS invasion, if you want to call it that. But see, the people I knew took the right steps to move forward. And so I don't know about these two ladies standing behind her, don't know who they are, but if they are in government, you're telling me they didn't know what temporary means?
Cats. That was the people of Haiti, the great and proud people of Haiti. This is a president that has been after Haitians from the first minute that he stepped into the Oval Office.
You remember when all that stuff about Haiti came out? She left this part out. When he said it was an S-hole country, what did they all say? No, it's beautiful. Now it's back to being an S-hole. They're the ones who are saying it's an S-hole. Hey, we can't send these people back. It's a crap hole. But I thought for the last couple of years you were mad because Trump said it, but now you're saying he was right. They don't even realize what they're saying.
I read the decision. The first thought in my mind was that there are Haitian families that will be torn apart here in Broward and in South Florida who are from countries that have lawful status, who will have that protected status torn away from them as a result of this revolting decision. We're talking about families whose kids were in school with my children, families whose homes and who are my neighbors in my neighborhood, in our neighborhoods across South Florida. These are our friends. These are our business owners. These are people who we stand side by side with, who we live amongst one another.
So if you notice what she's saying, it's all heart, it's all emotion. There's no fact here. There's nothing she wants to discuss in regards to the order, in regards to the law. These people are the ones who always talk about, it's legal, it's the order. We have to do what the Supreme Court says. Trump won't. This is a Supreme Court decision. Your emotions at this point don't matter. In fact, the Supreme Court even said it's not even reviewable. So instead of spending the time up at a podium, maybe you should help these people pack.
Hey, how y'all doing? So, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about why I'm pissed off this morning. On the way in to the White House every morning, I read press releases, and the continuation of the media that want to push out false information about the Trump administration, what we're doing as far as immigration. I'm just sick and tired of it. So let me explain what this administration is doing. So, I read every morning how inhumane the Trump administration is and how the president, myself, and others are racist, white nationalists, and just inhumane people, cruel people. There's nothing further from the truth. And let me explain something. Under Joe Biden, last administration, I don't want to be political, but guess what? I'm going to be. So under the last administration, they say those policies were so humane, and how we came in and how our policies are inhumane and causing death and just cruelty. So let me explain the difference between the last administration and this administration. The last administration, because they opened the border up, because they sent a message around the world, you can enter the country legally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. Turn yourselves into a Border Patrol agent, get processed and released within 24 hours. We'll fly you to the city of your choice on a taxpayer dime. We'll put you in a free hotel room. We'll give you 3 squares a day. We'll give you free medical care. And after a few months, you'll get work authorization, which is the real reason you came. You weren't really, asylum seeker. You may call them asylum seeker, but 90% of asylum seekers end up with an order removal because they're not escaping fear and persecution from the homeland because of race, religion, or political affiliation. They come here for a better life, and I get that. That's not asylum. But under President Biden, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. Historic record. Over 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the open border. Historic record. Women and children were sex trafficked. An historic record. No inspector terrorists came to the southern border. An historic record. Yeah, they broke records. They were killing Americans at record numbers. They were killing aliens at record numbers. And that's not to mention that on an average day, 70% of agents were off the line, off patrol, because they're busy taking care of this humanitarian crisis that they created on purpose. It wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. It was by design. So what does President Trump do? First of all, promises made, promises kept. So President Trump, when he called me up to come back, I came out of retirement twice for this president because this president is the greatest president in my lifetime. As a border guy, a national security guy, an immigration guy, I say that from the bottom of my heart. The data proves it. No one's done it better. I worked for 6 presidents, 10 administrations. No one even comes close to the success of President Trump. So right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. So the president called me up the second time. I was actually out to dinner with my wife, and right after the election, and we're having dinner, and my phone's sitting on the table, and all of a sudden it rang and it says POTUS. My wife says, "Oh my God, you're not going to go back again, are you?" I said, "Hey, let's see what he wants." I call him up, and he said, that's what he said. First thing he said, "You've been bitching about it for 4 years. You want to come fix it?" So, how do you say no to that, right? So I came back in, and she goes, "Well," I said, "Well, get ready for another ride. I'm going back." And I did. He said, on that conversation, he said 3 things to me. "I need you to do 3 things, Tom. I need you to secure the border. I need you to run a mass deportation operation. I need you to find these missing children." That's the 3 things he gave me. I told him, I said, "Look, we'll lock the border down in 2 months because we did it in Trump 45. We can brush off the plans. I had a few other ideas to add to that plan. We'll lock it down in 2 months." He says, "Great, make it a month." I said, "All right." I says, "Mass deportation, no problem there, because the last administration had over 10 million legal aliens in this country. So we got plenty of people to go find. We can get that done." I said, "But the children, sir, is not going to be easy. Because I know that under the last administration, they were released to unvetted sponsors. Their number one goal is push these kids out as soon as they could so there's no overcrowding. Same they did with the aliens, push them out, send them to their cities, because the last thing they want is the images of overcrowding at the border, overcrowding in any of the facilities, because that tells a story. They don't want that story told, so move people as quick as possible." So look, most secure border in history. Check, done. Number 2, mass deportations. The first year under President Trump, almost 1 million people were removed. No president even come close to that. So check. And despite what the media says, 60 to 70% of everybody we arrest is a criminal, which means they're pending criminal charges or they have a criminal conviction. Now, there's some say we should be arresting everybody. Well, we are. But when you got a public safety threat here and a non-public safety threat there, you always got to get that guy first. He's the biggest danger to our communities. But I'd rather have it as 60 criminal and 40 non-criminal than have it 40 non-criminal and 60, non-criminal. It's always better to have more criminals because what we're doing every day, we remove a public safety threat, we're making this country safe again. So we had a record historic year with deportations. But now we got 10,000 more agents on board, or it should be on board by the end of next month. Wait till next year. The third thing, the children. Under President Trump's leadership, first of all, under the last administration, nearly 500,000 children were smuggled into this country, separated from their parents, put in hands of criminal cartels, and released to unvetted sponsors. The old Secretary of HHS, Becerra, he stood on stage numerous times and was bragging about how quick these kids get released from custody. Shame on him. Because let me tell you what we found out. Many of the addresses provided by the sponsors didn't exist. We're out there looking for these kids, and the address is a supermarket, a parking lot, a church, shopping mall. Many of the IDs provided by the sponsors were fraudulent. Home checks weren't done to verify that that person lived at this address and it's a place where a child could be raised.
You know, the other day somebody tweeted at me and said, the most important thing is the kids and you never talk about it. Always talking about the kids. In fact, I find it odd that all the abstiniacs never talk about this. They never talk about the hundreds of thousands of kids that got completely, I won't even say lost, were brought in and God knows what happened to them. Hundreds of thousands of them. You never hear, Massey, even on the Republican side, Massey never talks about these kids. Not a single word. Marjorie Taylor Greene never talks about these kids. They keep bringing up these doggone Epstein files, and even somebody that SV bounced out of here today. Epstein. Wake up. What about the 300,000 current kids? They don't want to talk about that. They don't want you to know. Even though I know you know, they don't want people talking about it. And he's bringing them, he's finding them. It's disgusting.
They didn't vet the sponsors properly. They didn't vet anybody else in the household. Under President Trump, 45, not only did we vet the sponsor, we vetted everybody in that household to make sure there's not a predator or criminal in that household. We have found that a single male had 18 children assigned to him. I knew this would be tough, and I told the president, we can find you. You own a car, you own a home, you pay bills, you pay utility bills, you got a credit card. You all have a digital footprint. We can find you. How do you find a child that don't have a digital footprint? And I told the president, I know for a fact, because I've been screaming about it for 4 years, that we got to count on the digital footprint of the sponsor. And when they provide false identity, false addresses, they weren't vetted, the home checks weren't done, we can't verify who these people are, that digital footprint's going to be a mess. And it has been. But under President Trump's leadership, we have already found 147,000 of these children. Now, many of these children were safe for their family, just hiding out because they don't want to be deported. But many, too many, were victims of sex trafficking and forced labor. So I don't want to hear another damn word about President Trump being inhumane. He's saving lives every day. There's been studies done that 31% of women, these studies are done by independent groups, up to 31% of women that make that journey coming to the United States get sexually assaulted. 31% admitted they got sexually assaulted making that journey. If 31 admitted it, how many is that number really? So when President Trump has illegal immigration down 97%, how many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many known suspected terrorists aren't coming into the country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't coming across the border to kill Americans? President Trump is saving thousands of lives every month, but no one wants to talk about it. I'm talking about it. And we're not going to stop talking about it. And the media, you can keep writing all the hit pieces you want on me. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care I'm not running a popularity contest, so write what you want, but Tom Homan's going to stay. I'm not going anywhere, and we're going to keep pushing the lever. We're going to make this country safe again. We're going to secure our border, and we're going to be a nation of laws. President Trump, let me say this. I'm sick and tired of reading about the evil man in the White House. I have spent so much time with this president, whether it's on Air Force One, in the Oval Office, at Mar-a-Lago, doing trips together, whatever it is. I started in 1984. I spent a career as a special agent, criminal investigator. You learn how to study people. And I'm telling you, I respect President Trump as much as I do my own dad. Because I know what's inside him. I know where his heart's at. I've been with him, and I've never met anybody that loves this country so much as that man. Now, look, is he perfect? No. If you want the president to be perfect, you better wait for the second coming of Jesus, because I've never met a perfect man in my life. I'm proud to work for him, because I know when it comes to border security, national security, enforcing our laws in this country, having the backs of the men and women of law enforcement, no one's done it better. Nobody. And I'm going to end with this. I say I got 2.5 minutes left. To the media, stop attacking the members of ICE. These are I want you to know the men and women of ICE who I was when. Look, I wore that Border Patrol uniform. I was an ICE agent. When I was a director of ICE, I didn't ask any of the 20,000 men and women that worked for me to do anything that I didn't do myself. I know what these people deal with. I know the death threats are up 8,000%. I know that personally. That's why I'm surrounded by security detail. I got 24/7. I can't even go to the grocery store without security detail. But to the haters and cartel members who threaten me, come get some, because I'm tired of you.
Get some.
President Trump will wipe the criminal cartels, the drug cartels. He's playing the away game, which is smart. We've been playing the home game for decades. Now President Trump's taking a fight to them in the away game, and what a difference he's making. Fentanyl deaths have decreased significantly. Drugs from this country has decreased significantly. I think President Trump, by the time he leaves office, will wipe these criminal drug cartels off the face of the earth. But the death threats aren't going to stop me. But, you know, I'm lucky. I have a security detail. The men and women of ICE don't. And I know the threats they're dealing with. Not only are they being doxxed, their spouses are being doxxed. Their children are being doxxed. It's amazing what's going on right now. I just can't believe it. The hate for these men and women. But the men and women of ICE are just like you. Their moms and dads, their sons and daughters, their brothers and sisters who strap a gun to their hip every day, put a Kevlar vest on to go arrest the worst of the worst in this nation. And
you know, it's really bad. I don't know if you've been following, but Kathy Hochul in New York just signed a law saying it's illegal for anybody in law enforcement to be masked. It's okay if you're going to rob a bank, you put on a mask. But if you're an ICE agent with a mask, you can get in big trouble, which I don't know how, because who's going to arrest the ICE agent? Good luck enforcing that. And as he finishes here, he gives a chilling admonition, a very chilling admonition.
Getting attacked by members of Congress who want to call them the Gestapo and the secret police. Well, I'll tell you what, they're enforcing the law that you wrote, so if they're a racist for enforcing that, what's that make you? You wrote the law. My wife told me don't go to the stage pissed off today, but I can't help it because it's just who I am. Look, I take this personal. I take it personal because what President Trump is doing is saving lives. I've stood in the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy that they all baked to death. I got to the crime scene. They're all in underwear trying to get some relief from the 170-degree heat in the back of a steel truck with no air. Think of the way these people died. I've gotten on my knees to talk to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by members of a cartel. And when you get on your knees, you talk to a little girl, that everything innocent and pure and has been ripped from her. That's what happens when you have an unsecured border. Well, guess what? There's no little 9-year-old girl right now that everybody's getting on their knees and talking to because President Trump has closed the border down. I'll leave you with this. Secure borders saves lives. Secure borders protects our national security. No one's done it better than President Trump, and we ain't finished yet. God bless you. I've been around a long time. I started in 1984. I've worked for 6 presidents. I've worked for 10 administrations. No one's done it better than President Trump. He's kept all his promises, and that's why I always say President Trump's the greatest president in my lifetime. The data proves that. I'm a border guy. I'm a national security guy. No one's done it better. Look at the data. That's what makes him a great president. Promises made, promises kept, and we're not done yet.
I wanted you to hear that because he said it twice at that first speech and then on TV that later that night that he says, we're not done yet. And that, to me, that's very chilling. And the bad guys should know that. And the bad guys who are here should know that. I'm talking about in the Democrat Party. This is Kathy Hochul as the mask thing I was just telling you about.
For nearly 250 years, American law enforcement officers didn't regularly hide their faces. As our nation approaches our new anniversary, 250 years, they don't need to do so now. Trust requires accountability. That's why, joining with the legislature, we passed a law that if someone's exercising law enforcement authority here in New York, they should not be able to conceal their identity from the public. Because hiding your face is nothing more than a fear tactic, an intimidation tactic. And that's not how we keep people safe in this state. And this law applies equally to local, federal, and state officials. Now, law enforcement routinely perform dangerous and difficult jobs, well, identifying themselves in public. They always have. Always have. The law recognizes that reality, and it contains common sense exceptions like medical masks or necessary tactical equipment. We understand that. But as a general rule, I say New Yorkers have a right to know who is exercising government authority in their communities.
Yeah, things are going to be very interesting moving forward. I mean, the only reason these guys have to wear masks is because you keep doxing them, you keep threatening them, you keep going to their house, threatening their kids. You've got an entire legion of socialist commies looking up these people's address, doing their own facial recognition, checking out license plates. That entire network that when I had the Data Republican on, it was amazing when they were telling us all the different things that these people are doing. It's a counterintelligence operation that's doing nothing but trying to hurt people. We are rapidly coming to a head here in terms of something has to give. And if I sound like I'm hard with people when I talk, it's because I know and I can see where this is coming. You have to understand that your enemy is no longer your grandma's Democrat. We're not talking about Harry Reid. We're not talking about any of these people who used to be Nancy Pelosi. No, she can't handle it anymore. We're not even talking about Hakeem Jeffries. We are talking about battle-hardened commies who have studied, who understand all of Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. I hope you read that. All these things, they know it very well. They've exercised it. They've utilized it. They're there to destroy you. And they're being coddled by people like AOC, who's saying some of the craziest stuff. I don't know who's writing her scripts for her, but she's just out there lying. And these kids are falling for it. I mean, I'm going to do a show tomorrow on MK Ultra. I talked to you about that. Hope they don't turn me off. But I just feel like there's something going on right now with MK Ultra. Nobody can be this stupid. Nobody can look at Mandami with that big smile and think he means anything but harm for this country. You can't even listen to AOC without going, what normal people, what the hell did she just say? Let me see if I can find the last video that she just said where she went after Elon Musk, because it was just, you just have to wonder, how can these people say this insane stuff? Here, yeah, it's only 42 seconds. Thank God it's only 42 seconds, because that's probably about as much as you can take. But the fact of somebody looking at a camera and recording this is really sad. Here, let me play this for you, because none of it makes any sense to people who have a brain. It can only be making sense to people who are on some sort of demonic spell. Here, let me play this for you. This is crazy.
We don't quote unquote have the money for a better and improved social safety net because we let assholes like Elon Musk gut Medicaid and gut Social Security.
Let me stop you right there. You are a United States elected politician. You hold office, and you called a civilian, an American, I think he's a citizen yet, but you called him an a-hole on a video. These people have no bounds. Nothing means anything to them. Like I said, this isn't your old grandma's Democrat Party. They are getting ready for war, and if it gets physical, so be it. But listen how she talks. Like, I mean, imagine, what you have to imagine is, who is she talking to?
In order for him to pay for A, his own tax cuts, and B, his own $1 billion in private federal contracts. This guy takes billions and billions of your tax dollars, of your public funds. They are robbing us of the tiny slivers of what we have left in our collective public social safety net.
Wow. Wow. So you're an impressionable young socialist who has no idea what the hell's going on in life. And here's this woman saying, he's taking all your money. He's robbing you, the actual words she just said. Bernie Sanders put up something which he shouldn't have even taken the time to type this. This is how insane this is. Because with everything going on, all these Supreme Court rulings, all of the TPS, all this stuff going on, this is what Bernie Sanders felt was a big issue today. He put this out at 3:51. On July 1st, that would be tomorrow, Trump will increase student loan payments up to $4,000 a year. 1 in 4 borrowers will soon be in default. 9 million of them could have their wages garnished. Hundreds of thousands of seniors could have their Social Security checks garnished. Are there hundreds and thousands of seniors have college loans? Congress must act now. And somebody asked the same question. Why would seniors have their Social Security checks garnished? If a senior citizen on retirement takes out a student loan, they have to pay the debt. These people are insane. Absolutely, completely bat poop crazy. Let me see if this is SV, but that's what he thinks is important right now. He thinks that it's absolutely important to to do that, to go and stop student loans from tomorrow changing, and people have to, pay for what they borrowed. See, the whole thing with his insane post here is he forgets one thing. Nobody held these people hostage. Each and every one of those 9 million students willingly, without any coercion, signed a paper and said, give me a loan so I can go to this college where I'll graduate with no idea what to do in life. But now we're supposed to pay for it because these kids can't find any way to make any money. And if you notice, I had posted something a couple days ago. They never talk about going after the colleges. They never say, you know what, maybe we should go after these schools with these giant endowments and, hold these people liable for teaching kids to barely be able to make coffee. Sad word, sad world, sad state of affairs, but you got to keep ready to fight.